I believe motivation is garbage. I believe it's garbage. And here's what I mean by that. I believe that if you quote unquote wait to feel motivated, you're going to be waiting forever.
If you're lost, feeling low, if it feels like you got nowhere to go, take a breath, look and see that there's still so much that you can be. If in need, I'm around, we will pick your feet up off the ground and we'll turn it around.
Welcome to the Captivating Creatives podcast. This is a podcast for an actor, singer, dancer, creative artist of any kind. We'll be taking one deep stage dive into personal development for creatives with interviews, intention setting, getting yourself motivated, and so much more. Ready? Go.
Hello, guys. Wow, here we are. I don't know about you guys, but it feels like all of the days are starting to blend together. And one of my favorite podcast hosts on her podcast was saying, I'm going to start saying what day it is when I'm recording, because the world is changing so quickly. And I feel like knowing what day it is so that you can kind of like grapple. And I don't know, it gives you a little bit of awareness during this weird time. So I'm going to go ahead and say I am recording this on Monday, March 30th. And yes, I'm recording this the day before it came out because I'm going to be honest with you guys. I was not planning on doing a podcast episode this week. I have a lot of stuff behind the scenes that I'm working on that I'm so freaking excited to share with you all. And to be honest, you know, we're in quarantine right now. I'm trying to be really, really nice to myself and not overwork and not try to quote unquote make the most out of this pandemic. And a lot of that resolved in, okay, I'm going to work for this time and I'm going to relax from this time. I'm a very black and white person. I need those hard and fast rules. But this morning I was doing my journal work and something just really hit me hard. And that was, for some of us right now, having that motivation every single day to get towards our goals, to get tasks done, can feel so distant. That need, that pull for motivation feels like the backest of back burners. And here's the deal. I do believe wholeheartedly in being kind to yourself. This is a time for rest. I do believe this is a time for reflection. However, I do believe that this is not just time for us to go numb and just sit on our goals and pretend like they don't exist and not work towards them. I'm really adamantly working towards my goals and taking rest extremely seriously right now. So for some of you guys, that might look the same. That motivation is just not here. So if you are feeling like you are wanting to start looking at your goals like they didn't just go off the back burner for this time, if you're wanting to spark that motivation, this is the podcast episode for you today. I'm literally entitling it, Listen to This When You're Ready to Feel Motivated. Because I truly believe I am not the only person who is starting to look at, okay, we're in quarantine, I'm starting to let that sink in. Look at all the possibilities I have. Look at what I can do. Look at what I can achieve, as well as rest. I really want to highlight and underline that, you guys. I'm taking rest really seriously right now. But whenever I'm like, I want to do stuff, I'm ready to feel motivated, I'm ready to feel like I'm persisting through to finish my goals, this is the kind of stuff that I do when I'm going to teach you today. This is the stuff that I condition my body with to see my finish line through and to see myself really work hard, really buckle down, really focus, even when we're in the middle of a pandemic, but I'm still focusing on stuff that will get me to the next level. Again, I'm really wanting to hit on this, you guys. This is not like I'm doing this for 12, 15, 16,000 hours a day. I'm really taking rest seriously. But when I am pushing towards my goals and really feeling that fire under my butt, this is the kind of stuff that I'm doing because I am not just letting a global pandemic make me go numb and make me forget about all my aspirations in life. We're starting to get into week 3, which means that things are starting to kind of sink in. If you guys have any desire or if you want to, there's many articles all about how right now we're dealing with this like we're dealing with grief. And it's really interesting. And we're all dealing with that at totally different times and different stages. But the 5 stages of grief is a lot of how we're going through this right now. Some people are still in hella denial. Some people are really in that hard and fast sadness and mourning and all that kind of stuff. Some people are into anger. I don't know about you guys. I'm starting to get into the anger phase where I'm like, all of these plans, all of these things that I had, I'm starting to realize aren't going to happen. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. We haven't gotten the official email yet, but Brett, my boyfriend, and I have been training for this half marathon in May for months. And it has been something I've looked forward to. I've canceled other major plans with people that I love for this half marathon because it's been important to me. It's been a goal of mine. And this was one of the first big things that I was like, I will not make any excuses. This is something I have been writing about in my dream journal for months, and it's probably not going to happen. And I'm starting to really let that sink in and get angry about it. But I'm going to tell you, I'm not using that as an excuse. I am still running 13.1 miles when that day comes, because whether it's at a full-blown production race or if it's just me, my Nike app on my phone, and the boyfriend at my side and a podcast or some music for 13.1 miles, it's gonna happen, and I'm going to cross the metaphorical finish line no matter what. So what I'm saying during this time is that we're starting to really get into that either groove, or we're starting to really feel into the, oh, this is a thing. The shock factor is starting to wear off, and we're starting to really look at how we can cope during this time. Now, we can either numb during this time, or we can push through, or we can do a mixture of both. We can really let this time be restful or we could use this time for creative. Honestly, the world's really your oyster right now, and that's hella freaking cool. But what I am choosing this time to be for myself is some time for introspection, some time for reflection, and some time to really put my head down and create for the masses. Because that whole excuse of I don't have the time is not an excuse anymore. And so I'm really letting that push me through and letting that be the driving motivation behind what I'm doing. But I'm also going to be super honest with you guys. And I've said this before on the podcast, but I'm going to say it again. I believe motivation is garbage. I believe it's garbage. And here's what I mean by that. I believe that if you quote unquote wait to feel motivated, you're going to be waiting forever. Sometimes the biggest goals that you want to achieve, sometimes the scariest things that you want to do that you know are going to make you grow and be a better person, you don't want to do the habits that are going to get you to that level. You don't feel motivated to do those habits every single day. I'll put a perfect example. Running multiple times a week. Sometimes I wake up and I'm like, the last thing I want to do at 6 a.m. is put on my running shoes and run 4 miles. That's not what I want to do. But you know what? I do it anyway, and I feel better afterwards. So I made this episode because, yes, listen to this when you want to feel motivated, but I hope this lights that little spark under your butt that makes you realize, oh, this feels good. Doing this stuff makes me feel good. Creating for me and not for the desperation to be like everyone else right now is what I've been looking forward to do. And I'm going to tell you guys point blank, I'm going to be doing a podcast episode all about comparison factor next week. And I'm going to have a guest on my podcast about it because I think it's so vital right now. And I've touched on this a lot in my Instagram stories, but we'll do a whole big podcast episode on it next week. But I'll kind of touch on it here and there. But I want to break this down into steps for you guys because that's how our human brain works. Our human brain likes things broken down into easy to follow steps. So here we go. And step number 1 is change your focus. I say this and some people are like, the fuck? How do I do that? How do I change my focus? Isn't my focus on autopilot? No, it's 100% in our control. Your focus is going to revolve around whatever you're consuming. So for instance, if you're consuming the news a lot, your focus and thus your energy, because remember, focus equals energy, your focus is going to be probably on anxiety, on doom, on overwhelm, on hopelessness, because that's what the news is gearing towards right now. That is what you're consuming. Let's say you're consuming a lot of social media. Your focus, and thus again, your energy might be on, oh my God, I'm not doing enough. These people are creating every single day. I need to be creating. I feel desperation to be on the same level. I feel guilty that I'm not doing that. Do you smell what I'm stepping in? Or for instance, you're listening to this podcast episode. You're changing your focus to look at more forward moving things. There's also a million other resources that you guys can use. I just sent out a huge list of resources during this time to my personal email list, and it was filled to the brim of podcast episodes, to worksheets, to videos of people who specialize in this stuff for years and years and years. But you change your consumption, you change your focus, and thus you change your energy. Number one, change what you're consuming. If you notice that you're looking at a lot of social media right now, or a lot of news, a lot of things that make this pandemic feel big, scary, uncertain times infinity, please take that in as a grain of salt and change what you're focusing on. So, next, move your body. Every damn day, guys. This is no exceptions, because there has been so much scientific evidence that when you don't move your body, there's all that energy, all that anxiety. It's swirling around in your head. Let's say, for instance, you've been laying on the couch. You've been looking at a lot of social media and through the news and stuff like that. All of that energy and that swarming amount of anxiety is stuck up between your eyebrows, just right up there. But when you move your body, you get your blood flowing, and that anxiety starts to release and flows through your body so that the mind and the body start working together. And it's really cool. But if you notice, even when you're like, I don't know if you guys have done this before, but there's been a few times where like, oh, I've been like laying on the couch, I'll be like watching Netflix or like listening to an audiobook or something, and then I kind of like get that really like, oh, sleepy, like so sleepy to the point of like utter exhaustion. And I'm like, okay, like let me try something. I get up, I walk around the apartment, maybe like clean a glass or two, and all of a sudden my energy is back to normal. It's truly just moving your body and getting your blood flowing at the bare minimum, walking around your apartment. I will say there's never been a more important time to really consider health as a highest priority. Obviously, for, the virus that's hopping around, but I'm really not even speaking to that. I'm speaking for your mental health. Now more than ever, guys, there's so much stuff that you can do in your apartment, on the floor, doing a HIIT workout, doing a bar class, whatever that looks like. There's so many free resources right now. Or strap on your running shoes and go outside for a run or for a walk or for a jog or whatever that looks like. But get your body moving. It is so important. Next one is tap into what you want. Because if you're right now only looking at the things you don't want to do, or you're only looking at the things that are just numbing exercises for you right now, like watching Netflix or scrolling through social media for hours and hours and hours every single day, or laying in bed after you've woken up for hours and hours and hours scrolling through social media. I'm looking at you. I know you've done it. But what I'm saying is, if you identify what you want, and there's a really key word there, guys, identify. You have to identify what you want in clear and concise things, because the more clear you are, the more drive, the more clarity you have moving forward, and the more likely you are to take action. So getting really clear on what you want, please. And if that even looks like brainstorming, maybe something that you really wanted to do, you can't do during a global pandemic. But I guarantee you can do some other work that's attached to it. Or you could do something that maybe has been in the back of your mind for forever. And you're like, oh, this might be a fun activity that I can do that I quote unquote never had the time for. I love seeing people who are starting to take up painting or starting to take up writing and starting to look at all these things that like they never would have done before. And because quote unquote, they didn't have the time, but now all of a sudden they've been gifted it. So just identify what you want to achieve. And you guys, that can be different from day to day. Maybe Let's say, for instance, you're a piano player and you're like, today I want to achieve learning this song and this song alone. And if you identify that and really get clear on it, it's a lot easier to do than, I think I want to play piano, but Netflix is so much closer and I really want to finish Tiger King. Here we go. You feel me? Now, working hand in hand with what you want, you have to know why. Because here's the deal. Knowing what you want is excellent. It's like that peak thing and it's like, oh, that's so great at the top level. But the highest achievers, the most outstanding people in the world are 2 millimeters above that excellent line. And knowing why you want to achieve it bumps that up to 2 millimeters higher, which is outstanding. So why must you achieve it? I'm going to give you guys an example. When I first started coming out of the shock and awe and the energy, the stress and anxiety of it, and obviously it still comes in waves, but the constant of it, I started identifying what I want. What do I want to achieve in this week, in this day, in this month, whatever that looks like. And I said, every day I want to show up for my audience in some inspiring way, period. That is what I want to do. That's going to look different from day to day. And obviously, each day I identify a specific thing. Because remember, clarity equals power here, guys. But what I do is then identify why. Why must I show up for you guys in an inspiring way? And I think about it like this. My why behind my business, my why behind my journey as a coach, as an inspiration, as a leader is so that you guys have these kinds of outlets, so that you can listen to things that make you feel alive during times like this. This is really and truly a true test to my business and to what I'm wanting to bring into this world. So my why behind that is so that you guys can feel like you have an outlet, so you feel like you can be inspired even in dark times. That to me is a why so compelling that brings me so much joy that immediately lights that spark under my butt that kicks me into high gear of motivation. And obviously, last but not least, you got to believe in yourself, guys. And I know this sounds silly and I know this sounds like, ugh, why? But especially this, let me just play out a little scenario. You've identified what you want to do for the day. Maybe you woke up and you're like, oh, this sounds awesome. I really want to do this. And you've been listening to me for a while, so you know why. I want to build up the why behind it. I want to do this because of this. And it makes you so excited and you feel so compelled and motivated and you like brushing your teeth and you're getting so excited. And then you start to think about all the reasons why you shouldn't do it and all the reasons why you're not enough to do that. Maybe it was post a video of you singing a song that you've been wanting to sing for a long time. And you were so excited because that was a song that brought you so much joy and you know it could bring joy to other people. But then you started scrolling through social media. You saw a lot of other people doing the same thing. And you start comparing yourself to that girl or that guy or him, her, they, them, and they all start to sound a lot better than you do. And then you start to go in that deep, dark hole of, well, I'm not enough to do this. And the motivation dies. Like, not only just dies, like slow slope down. No, like, I mean incinerates, like kaboom, kind of dies. So you guys, you have to keep that affirmation high of believing in yourself and knowing why you are enough to do this. That can look in so many different ways. I'll tell you this, before I recorded this podcast episode, I've been feeling kind of like fuzzy brain all morning. And I was like, okay, how can I show up best for my audience in this way, in this most inspiring, compelling way to get this information out of my chest and into a podcast? So what did I do? I meditated for the first time in a long time. I'm normally a huge advocate for meditation, but I'm going to be honest with you guys, I am not someone who meditates every day. Obviously, I want to, and that's going to be definitely something on my list of goals very, very soon. But when I think of meditation, I'm always like, oh, I'm not good at it. I don't know, blah, blah, blah. Maybe I'll do a podcast episode about it someday. But I meditated for the first time in a long time, and I got really clear on what I wanted to bring today. Then I put on a song that makes me feel so excited, so elated, and so powerful. And I wrote out the outline to this episode to the song. And I danced around my living room and I felt so excited. And I got my body moving. My brain and my body were working together. And the entire time I was doing affirmations. I was saying, like, you are enough. You are a voice to be heard. You need to get this out. People need to hear this. This is why I'm here for you guys on today's episode. So, believe in yourself. If that means going on a walk and saying over and over, I am powerful, I am strong, I am talented, I am enough, whatever is compelling to you, make sure it's compelling because that's obviously so important. If you say over and over and again in your head, I'm enough, I'm enough, I'm enough, I'm enough, and it has about that same amount of gusto behind it, y'all, you're not going to feel enough. You're going to feel stupid at the end of this. Versus if you say over and over again in your head, I am strong. I am talented. I am strong. I am talented. I am passionate. I am a voice to be heard. Whatever's compelling to you, that's going to feel so much more powerful for when you finally show up to the plate. And you're going to have so much more belief in yourself, so much more presence, so much more flow for when you do your task, whatever that looks like, guys. This also doesn't have to be big, scary things. These can be smaller tasks, whatever that looks like for you. And I'm going to throw in a little bonus one here at the very end of this episode, and that is get out of you. Because let's be real, you're not doing this for you. And if you are in your head, I challenge you to get into contribution instead. Why must you contribute this into the world? And whether that's something like, I'll use the marathon example or the half marathon example. So I've identified my want. What do I want? I want to run 4 miles today. Why? Because it gets me closer to my goal. It gets me excited. I feel better. I feel healthier. I feel stronger, yada, yada, yada. But it's not about me. This is about what can I bring into the world? Obviously, this is a huge thing of inspiration for me. I was so inspired by one of my favorite podcasters and motivational speakers talking about how she was never a runner and then all of a sudden she decided to be one day and here she is. I decided to kind of pick it up because I was like, what if I rewrote that narrative in my head? What if I rewrote that I quote unquote can be a runner and I am a runner instead of I'm not and I'm afraid I get my shin splints, owie. So that was a big thing. And I was like, what if I can be inspiration to other people to get their health and to get their bodies moving every single day? What if that can be an inspirational thing to others as well as to me? You guys, that's so important to contribute. Also, I know that when I go on a run with my partner, him and I are each other's outer accountability. So a lot of the reason why we do it is for the other person. So we get into contribution because it just really is that bread and butter and that base layer of everything we must use in life. I don't know how else to say. Contribution. There's a really great way of looking at this, and I'll use an example of if you're performing and you're really nervous, maybe you're doing an audition or something, and you're extremely nervous, you don't want to do it, you're so afraid, what if they don't like you, what if you don't hit the note, blah, blah, blah. It's because you're focusing on you. You're focusing on only self. What if you don't do well? What if you don't show up to the plate enough? What if they don't like you? But if you focus on other, how can you affect them today? How can you solve their problem? How can you inspire someone? Maybe someone behind the table is going through a divorce right now. And maybe you go in and you sing a really powerful song all about being who you are out of love and being who you are, finding your own path, stuff like that. You never know, guys, but if you tell yourself that story that it's all about the other, those nerves will go away. So tap into the other and the contribution, especially during this time, guys, because man, oh man, the world needs contribution and love now more than ever. All right, that's the end of my rant, but let's do a quick recap. So what are some things that you can do to feel motivated right here and now today? First things first, change what you're consuming and thus change your focus. Obviously, you've listened to today's episode. You're already changing what you're consuming. I hope you have more energy by the end of this episode. But maybe that also looks like listening to a book, listening to some music that you love. Maybe there's a musical that makes you feel like you are on that stage doing your Broadway debut open night. You can feel the spotlight. Maybe that's what you need to listen to feel motivated today. Then move your body. Every damn day, guys. Every single day, even if it's a walk around the block or maybe it's just some jumping jacks in your living room, move your body. Now more than ever, it's so important. Next, tap into what you want. What do you want? Identify it. Get really clear on it. Don't make it wishy-washy. Make it really, really clear. Then, why? Why the heck do you want it? Remember, this is that 2 millimeters higher, that level of excellence to outstanding. Why is really what carries you to the finish line. Then, believe in yourself. Obviously, this is something we all need to work on every day. Even some of my biggest inspirational people that I look up to the most, whose careers and lives I want the most, still sometimes admit that they have wavers where they don't believe in themselves. But they surround themselves with people and habits and resources that snap them back into oh, that's right, I'm amazing, I deserve this, I bring good into this world, so on and so forth. So make sure you have that belief in yourself, and if you can't produce it on your own, find a group of people, find your friends, find your family, find some inspiration outside of yourself. Maybe it's someone's career that you want so badly, or maybe it's someone else in the community, whatever that looks like. But find someone who helps you believe in yourself and knows that you are enough. And then last but not least, it's not about you, it's about contribution. What can you bring into this world by getting motivated, by inspiring some other people? Who knows? This is a world that needs inspiration and love now more than freaking ever. So that's all I got for today's episode, guys. Please, please, please let me know if this helped. Let me know in either a DM at Life Coach Baker on Instagram, or maybe that looks like in an email. I just got my own domain email, guys, and I'm really freaking pumped about it. It's hello@lifecoachbaker.com. Also, if you like today's episode or any episodes, or you just like me as a human being, I would love it so much if you rated and reviewed the podcast. You guys, it helps so much bring us up the charts, and it helps so much with getting this word out there, which I think is so freaking important. So please, 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 even just a rate or review or sharing it on your Instagram stories and tagging me, it really goes a long way. So thank you all so much. I appreciate you all to the ends of the earth. I hope you're having a fun, safe, and joyful quarantine this week, and I'll talk to you all very soon. Bye. You guys, thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you liked this episode, share it with a friend, share it on social, scream it from the mountaintops, rate her 5 stars, whatever floats your boat, but it really does help get the word out there. Also, if you're wanting more daily mindset tips, follow me on Instagram at Life Coach Baker and join the Facebook group Captivating Creatives, where we do a bunch of worksheets, live trainings, all for free. Also, major shout out to Cooper Baldwin, who wrote, composed, mixed everything a human can do for music for this show. Check him out at cooperbaldwinmusic.com. Thanks, Cooper. You're amazing. You guys have a beautiful day, and I'll talk to you soon.